Hey guys, tonight we begin not with kings and castles, but with something far more devastating. Watching an empire crumble while a father loses everything to the daughters he trusted most. Because believe it or not, Shakespeare's greatest tragedy becomes even more haunting when you set it in 1946 India, where the British Empire is dying, monsoons rage, and loyalty means nothing against ambition. From colonial mansions to storm-soaked railway stations, this isn't your typical bedtime story. It's a tale of betrayal, madness, and the thin line between civilization and savagery when power changes hands. So before you settle in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy these kinds of stories. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's drift into the last days of empire together.
The year is 1946, and the British Empire is dying. In the sweltering heat of New Delhi, where ceiling fans turn lazily in grand colonial offices and the smell of monsoon rain mingles with dust from ancient streets, Sir Lionel King prepares to surrender everything he has built. He stands at the window of Government House, a tall man gone gaunt with age, his white linen suit crisp despite the humidity that defeats lesser men. Behind him, the tiger skin rug sprawls across polished teak floors, a trophy from his younger days when he believed empire would last forever. The walls are lined with photographs, Sir Lionel shaking hands with viceroys, Sir Lionel at the Delhi Durbar, Sir Lionel receiving his knighthood from a king who has since abdicated. 30 years of service to the crown, 30 years of building roads and railways, of maintaining order in a land that increasingly no longer wants it. Outside, the streets pulse with a different energy now. Independence is coming, everyone knows it. The British are packing their trunks, burning their papers, booking passage home. But Sir Lionel King has no home to return to. India is his home. The tea plantations in Assam, the rubber estates in Kerala, the sprawling colonial mansion in the hills of Shimla, these are his kingdom, and he has decided it is time to divide it among his 3 daughters. The office fills with the rustle of expensive fabric and the click of heels on hardwood. His daughters arrive as summoned, each representing a different face of the dying empire. Goneril is first the eldest, tall and angular like her father, dressed in a severe navy dress with pearls at her throat. Her husband, Albany, trails behind. A weak-chinned bureaucrat from the Indian civil service who has spent 20 years shuffling papers and counting days until his pension. Goneril's eyes are sharp as she surveys the room, calculating. Always calculating. Regan enters next with her husband Cornwall, a military man with a colonel's insignia and a cruel mouth. She wears emerald green silk that shimmers in the afternoon light streaming through the windows, and her beauty is harder than her sister's, more dangerous. Cornwall's hand rests possessively on her shoulder, and there is something predatory in the way they move together, like hunting cats. Finally, Cordelia the youngest, barely 23, dressed simply in white cotton that seems to glow against her sun-touched skin. She has spent the morning in the native quarter, teaching at the missionary school, and there is dust on her shoes that makes Goneril's nose wrinkle with distaste. Cordelia's fiancé, the King of France, a diplomatic attaché named François Bourbon, waits outside, respecting the family nature of this gathering. Sir Lionel turns from the window, and the ceiling fan casts rotating shadows across his weathered face. "My daughters," he begins, his voice still commanding despite his 78 years. "I have summoned you here on the eve of great change. India will have her independence. The empire we have served is ending, but the king holdings built over 3 decades of sweat and vision, these will endure." He moves to his desk, where maps are spread out like battle plans. Assam tea estates marked in green, Kerala rubber plantations in brown, the Shimla mansion circled in red, investments in railways and shipping marked with careful notations. His finger traces borders that will soon be redrawn. "I am old," he continues, and for a moment something vulnerable flickers across his face. "The heat exhausts me. The politics sicken me. I have decided to divide my holdings now, while I still have the strength to do so with clear mind and steady hand." I will retire to spend my remaining years in peace, moving between your households, requiring only a small retinue of 50 servants and guards to maintain the dignity of my position. The daughters exchange glances, quick, coded looks that pass between siblings who have learned to communicate in silence. Sir Lionel straightens, drawing himself up to full height. But before I divide what I have built, I wish to know which of you loves me most. Let your affection match the portions you will receive. Goneril, my eldest, speak first. Goneril steps forward, and her smile is practiced. Perfect. She is prepared for this moment. Father, she says, her voice smooth as aged whiskey, I love you more than words can express, more than eyesight, more than the breath in my lungs. You are dearer to me than liberty itself, more precious than life. No child has ever loved a father as I love you beyond all measure, beyond reason, beyond the boundaries of what language can contain. Sir Lionel nods, pleased, his vanity drinking in her words like a man dying of thirst. Good, good. The Assam tea estates are yours, 12,000 acres of the finest plantations in India, producing 500,000 pounds of tea annually. The Darjeeling processing facilities, the export contracts with London, all yours, Goneril. He marks the map with a heavy stroke of ink, and Goneril's eyes glitter with satisfaction. Now, Regan, my second daughter, what can you say? Regan moves forward with fluid grace, and her voice carries the hint of spice and danger. Father, I am made of the same metal as my sister, and I value myself at the same rate. But I must confess, she has named my very deed of love, yet comes too short. I declare myself her enemy to all other joys that the most precious square of sense possesses, and find I am alone felicitate in your dear highness's love. The words are honeyed poison, each one crafted to outdo Goneril while seeming to humble herself. Sir Lionel beams with pride. His daughters love him. His daughters understand what he has built. To you, Regan, and your valiant Cornwall, the Kerala rubber estates, 15,000 acres, the latex production facilities, the contracts with the military for vehicle tires. The profits have tripled since the war. It is all yours. Cornwall's cruel mouth curves into a smile, and Regan leans into her father's embrace, pressing her cheek against his like a dutiful daughter. Then Sir Lionel turns to Cordelia, his favorite, though he would never admit it publicly. She stands in her simple white dress, and he expects her to surpass her sisters with declarations of love that will justify giving her the largest portion, the Shimla estate, the shipping investments, the prime properties in Bombay and Calcutta. Now, my joy, my youngest, my Cordelia, what can you say to draw a third more opulent than your sisters? Cordelia meets his eyes, and in that moment, something passes between them. Truth, brutal and unwelcome. Nothing, father. The word falls like a stone into still water. The ceiling fan continues its rotation. Outside, a crow caws harshly. Nothing? Sir Lionel's voice drops. Dangerous. Nothing. Nothing will come of nothing. Speak again. Cordelia's hands clasp before her, knuckles white with tension, but her voice remains steady. I love you as a daughter should love her father, no more, no less. I honor you, obey you, cherish you, according to my bond. But if I profess to love you with my whole heart, what shall I give my husband when I marry? Surely my sisters, who claim to love only you, will have nothing left for their husbands. I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. I love you truly, father, but I will not lie to win land. The room freezes. Goneril's face hardens with barely concealed triumph. Regan's eyes narrow, calculating how this turn of events benefits her. Sir Lionel's face flushes deep red, the color rising from his collar to his white hair. His hands tremble, whether with age or rage, no one can say. So young and so untender? So young, my lord, and true. Then let your truth be your dowry. His voice rises to a roar that echoes off the high ceilings. I disown you. You are no daughter of mine. The property I would have given you, the Shimla mansion where you were born, the Bombay holdings, the shipping investments I divide between Goneril and Regan, you will have nothing. Not 1 rupee, not 1 acre, not 1 servant. Major Kent, Sir Lionel's oldest friend and military advisor, steps forward from where he has been standing by the door. He is a bear of a man, gray-haired and solid, wearing his uniform with the dignity of 30 years' service. Sir Lionel, I must speak. You will be silent. I will not be silent when I see you making the greatest mistake of your life. Kent's voice is firm, unafraid. Cordelia speaks truth. She loves you. Her sisters speak pretty words with hollow hearts. Do not do this. Do not punish honesty and reward flattery. Sir Lionel's eyes blaze with fury. You dare question my judgment? You dare suggest I cannot read my own daughter's hearts? I dare because I am your friend, and I would rather risk your anger than watch you destroy yourself. Then risk no more. You are banished, Kent. You have 5 days to leave India. If you are found within the borders of any territory I control after that time, your life is forfeit. Get out of my sight. Kent stands for a moment, his jaw tight, then salutes sharply not to Sir Lionel, but to Cordelia. I served your father for 30 years. I hope to serve truth longer still. He turns on his heel and walks out, his boots echoing on the hardwood until the sound fades into the humid afternoon. Francois Bourbon enters, having heard the commotion from the hallway. He is younger than expected, perhaps 30, with the careful diplomat's face that reveals nothing. But when he looks at Cordelia, something softens in his expression. Sir Lionel, I came to claim my bride with joy. I understand circumstances have changed. She comes with nothing, Sir Lionel spits. No dowry, no inheritance, no name. She is dead to me. If you want her, take her as she stands, a pauper in a cotton dress. Francois crosses to Cordelia, takes her hand gently. Then I take the richest prize of all, a woman who values truth above gold. Cordelia, will you come with me? I offer you Paris, a home, my name, and my whole heart. Cordelia's eyes glisten, but her voice remains steady. I will come gladly, though it breaks my heart to leave my father to those who love him less. Get out, Sir Lionel roars. Both of you! I never want to see your face again! As they turn to leave, Cordelia pauses beside her sisters. I know what you are, she says quietly. I leave our father to your professed bosoms, but I leave him with a heavy heart. I know you for what you are. Love him well. Goneril's smile is ice. Prescribe not us our duties. Time shall unfold what pleaded cunning hides, Cordelia says, then takes Francois' arm and walks out into the gathering dusk, leaving behind the only world she has ever known. The room empties slowly. Albany mutters awkward condolences and retreats. Cornwall and Regan leave to inspect their new holdings. Sir Lionel collapses into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 78 years, and Goneril approaches with a glass of brandy. There, father. Rest. This has been a difficult day, but you made the right choice. We will care for you. He takes the brandy with shaking hands, and Goneril exchanges a look with Regan before they both depart, leaving him alone with his maps and his memories and the tiger skin stretched across the floor. Later that night, in Goneril's quarters, the two sisters sit across from each other, cigarettes glowing in the darkness. Through the open window, the sounds of Delhi at night drift up, voices calling in Hindi and Urdu, the distant wail of a temple bell, dogs barking in the alleys. He's gone mad, Goneril says flatly, tapping ash into a crystal tray. Did you see how quickly he turned on Kent, his oldest friend? And Cordelia, whatever her faults, she didn't deserve that. Cordelia was a fool to speak honestly, Regan counters, pouring more gin into her glass. She should have played the game. But you're right about father. He's unpredictable, violent in his moods. And now he expects to live between our households with 50 servants? 50! Can you imagine the expense? The disruption? We'll need to manage him carefully, Goneril says, her mind already working through possibilities. He cannot be allowed to maintain his own retinue. It gives him too much independence, too much power. He's divided his holdings, but he still acts as though he commands an empire. He commands nothing now, Regan says, and her smile is sharp as broken glass. We must be united in this, sister. We reduce his retinue gradually. 10 servants at first, then 5, then fewer. We make him understand his new position. Agreed, and we watch him carefully. His rages could damage what we've built. The natives are already restless with independence coming. The last thing we need is a mad old man stirring up trouble. They sit in silence for a moment, smoke curling toward the ceiling fan. Did you ever love him? Regan asks, suddenly. Goneril considers the question, then shrugs. I loved what he could give me. I love the estates, the wealth, the position. As for the man himself, he was always too busy building his empire to notice his children. Let him reap what he sowed. To reaping, Regan raises her glass. To reaping, Goneril echoes, and they drink as the moon rises over Delhi, casting long shadows across a city on the edge of transformation. Meanwhile, at the harbor in Bombay, a figure boards a merchant vessel bound for Calcutta. He wears the rough clothing of a common laborer, his military bearing disguised by a stoop and shuffling gait. Major Kent has not left India. He has simply ceased to exist, replaced by Caius, an unemployed veteran seeking work. He will return to Sir Lionel in disguise, will serve the old fool one last time, whether the stubborn bastard knows it or not. Some loyalties run deeper than banishment, deeper than pride, deep as the roots of the banyan trees that have watched empires rise and fall for 1,000 years. The ship's horn sounds, low and mournful, as it pulls away from the dock. The British Empire is dying, but its ghosts are not yet ready to depart. 3 weeks pass, and the monsoon season arrives with biblical fury. Rain hammers the streets of New Delhi, turning dust to mud, filling the gutters with rushing brown water. The air smells of wet earth and decay, of endings. Sir Lionel King has taken up residence in Goneril's sprawling colonial bungalow on the outskirts of the city, where manicured lawns struggle against encroaching jungle and servants move like ghosts through marble hallways. He arrived with his retinue of 50 uniformed guards, personal attendants, his valet, his cook, his secretary, his bearer who has served him for 25 years. But the house feels wrong, too quiet, too carefully controlled. Goneril watches him from the veranda, her morning tea growing cold in bone china. Her father sits in the garden despite the rain, a large umbrella held over him by a shivering servant, staring at nothing. His friend Oswald, his faithful fool, a quick-witted Bengali journalist named Prakash who has made his living for years writing satirical columns, sits nearby, entertaining him with bitter jokes about independence and fallen empires. Why do the British love tea so much? Prakash asks, his voice carrying across the wet garden. Because they've spent 200 years stealing it and still don't know how to make it properly. Sir Lionel's laugh is harsh, without real humor. Everything I built, Prakash, everything, gone in a moment. Not gone, Majesty, merely redistributed to less deserving hands. Prakash adjusts his rain-soaked cap. Your daughters have the land, but you still have the only thing that matters, your magnificent capacity for rage and your equally magnificent capacity for self-pity. These will sustain you far longer than tea estates. Across the city, in a smaller but no less elegant residence, another family drama unfolds. Lord Edmund Gloucester is the Commissioner of Railways for the Northern Territories, a stern man of 60 with iron-gray hair and the bearing of old military aristocracy. He has 2 sons. The elder, Edgar, is legitimate born to Gloucester's English wife, who died of cholera 20 years ago. Edgar is serious, responsible, managing the railway operations with mathematical precision, beloved by the workers for his fairness. The younger son, Edmund, was born to an Indian mistress during the hot summer of 1923 when Gloucester's wife had returned to England for her health. Edmund's skin is darker than his brother's, his features a blend of 2 worlds that makes the British uncomfortable and the Indians distrustful. He holds no official position in the railway company, exists in a liminal space between legitimacy and shame, and the bitterness of it has curdled something essential in his soul. This morning, Edmund stands in his father's study, holding a letter he has forged in his brother's handwriting. The room smells of pipe tobacco and oiled leather, of power that has always been denied him. Father, he says carefully, I hesitate to show you this. I found it among Edgar's papers. Lord Gloucester looks up from railway schedules, his reading glasses perched on his nose. What is it? A letter. I fear Edgar has been. I should not speak of it. It is not my place. Show me. Gloucester's hand extends, commanding. Edmund hands over the forgery with perfect reluctance. The letter suggests that Edgar believes their father too old to manage the railways, that the time has come for younger men to seize control, that the old order must be pushed aside by force if necessary before independence makes such transitions impossible. Gloucester's face darkens as he reads. This is Edgar's hand? I believe so, sir, though I pray I am wrong. Where did you find this? In his office, sir. I went to borrow a file and saw it on his desk. I should not have read it, but my eye caught your name and I feared. I feared for your safety. Gloucester's hands tremble slightly as he rereads the letter. My son, my legitimate son, plotting against me. Perhaps I have misunderstood, Edmund says smoothly. Perhaps the letter means something else entirely. Edgar has always been ambitious, but surely not treasonous. Surely not capable of. But then, these are strange times. Independence approaches. The old certainties crumble. Men who once knew their place now question everything. Fetch Edgar, Gloucester says, his voice cold. Immediately. Edmund bows and retreats, and in the hallway, his face transforms into a smile of pure triumph. He has set the trap, now he needs only to spring it. Back at Goneril's bungalow, Sir Lionel enters the house dripping rainwater, Prakash trailing behind him like a faithful shadow. Goneril intercepts them in the main hall, her face composed but stern. Father, we must speak about your retinue. What about them? 50 servants is excessive. You do not need 50 men disrupting my household. The expense alone. Excessive? Sir Lionel's voice rises. I am Sir Lionel King. I built this empire. I require a staff befitting my position. You built nothing, Goneril says quietly, and the words land like blows. You administered territories that belonged to the crown. You extracted wealth from land that was never yours. And now you are a guest in my home, eating my food, using my servants. 50 men is too many. How many then? His voice shakes with rage and something else, fear. 25. That is generous. You would cut my retinue in half? I would give you what you deserve, Goneril says, her eyes hard as flint. 25 men, father, that is my final word. Sir Lionel stares at his eldest daughter, seeing her truly for the first time. Regan would not treat me thus. Regan loves me. Goneril's smile is thin. Then go to Regan. I am sure she will welcome you with open arms. Sir Lionel departs Goneril's house that very afternoon, his reduced retinue of 25 men loading trunks onto military lorries in the pouring rain. He does not say goodbye. Pride prevents it. He climbs into the lead vehicle, Prakash beside him cracking jokes about ungrateful children, and they drive south toward Regan's estate in Kerala, a journey of 3 days across flooding roads and swollen rivers. At a rest stop in a small village where the rain has temporarily ceased, Sir Lionel encounters a man seeking employment. He is thick-built and gray-haired, wearing the worn uniform of a discharged soldier, his face weathered by sun and hardship. He calls himself Caius. I seek service, sir, the man says, his voice rough and unpolished, bearing no resemblance to Major Kent's crisp military tones. I'm a veteran. Burma campaign. Good with administration, better with loyalty. I can serve a man of quality if such a man exists in these declining times. Sir Lionel studies him through the lorry window. You speak boldly for a man seeking work. I speak honestly, sir. I've had enough of lies. The war taught me that much. Something in the man's directness appeals to Sir Lionel. Can you keep accounts? Manage staff? I can manage anything that needs managing, sir. Then you're hired. Report to my secretary. We travel to Kerala within the hour. Caius, who is Kent beneath the disguise, bows and climbs aboard the supply lorry, hiding his satisfaction. The old fool has taken him back without knowing it. Now he can serve properly, can watch over this stubborn, foolish man he has loved like a brother for 30 years. The convoy winds through mountains where tea plantations cling to steep slopes, past villages where children wave at the passing vehicles, through forests where monkeys scream in the canopy. 3 days of rough roads and uncomfortable lodging in circuit houses, eating dal and rice while Prakash entertains the retinue with increasingly bitter observations about family loyalty and filial duty. They arrive at Regan's estate on a Thursday evening. The rubber plantations stretch for miles, the trees standing in neat rows like soldiers at attention, their bark scored with careful cuts that weep white latex into collecting cups. The main house is modern, built only 10 years ago, all clean lines and wide windows, surrounded by gardens that smell of frangipani and night-blooming jasmine. Cornwall greets them on the veranda, a cigarette dangling from his lips, his military uniform impeccable despite the heat. Sir Lionel, we received Goneril's telegram. She warned us you were coming. Something cold settles in Sir Lionel's stomach. Warned you? Informed us, I should say. Come in. Regan is resting. The heat exhausts her. The house is beautiful but sterile, decorated with modern furniture imported from England, with none of the comfortable clutter of lived-in spaces. Sir Lionel's retinue begins unloading luggage, but Cornwall stops them with a raised hand. Your men can camp in the servants' quarters. There isn't room in the main house. Not room? This house has 15 bedrooms, which are occupied or reserved for more appropriate purposes than housing your excessive staff. Cornwall's voice is mild, but his eyes are hard. We are not running a barracks, Sir Lionel. This is a private residence. Before Sir Lionel can respond, Regan appears, descending the stairs in an emerald silk dressing gown, her dark hair loose around her shoulders. She looks tired, beautiful, and utterly unmoved by her father's distress. Father, you left Goneril's house in anger? She treated me abominably. She cut my retinue in half, spoke to me as if I were a servant in my own daughter's home. Were you not difficult? Regan asks, settling onto a sofa, lighting a cigarette with practiced elegance. Goneril wrote that you were unreasonable, that your men were drunk and disorderly, that they harassed her female staff. Lies. Are they? Or do you simply refuse to see how your behavior appears to others? Regan exhales smoke in a thin stream. Father, you are old. You gave away your authority when you divided your holdings. You cannot expect to maintain the privileges of power without the power itself. I am still your father, and we still honor you as such. But you must be reasonable. Return to Goneril. Apologize. Accept her terms. Never. Sir Lionel's face flushes dangerously red. I will not crawl before that ungrateful. Then accept our terms. Cornwall interrupts. You may stay here but with no more than 10 servants. 10 men, Sir Lionel. That is more than sufficient for your actual needs. 10? You would reduce me to 10. What do you need 50 for? Regan asks reasonably. Or even 25. You are one old man. 10 servants is generous. Sir Lionel stares at his daughter, and something breaks inside him, some final illusion about love, about family, about the world making sense. I gave you everything. I gave you estates worth millions. And you haggle over servants like a bazaar merchant? You gave us what you could no longer hold, Regan says coldly. Do not pretend it was generosity. You were tired, father. You wanted rest. We have given you that. But rest comes with reduced circumstances. That is the nature of retirement. Prakash steps forward, his voice cutting through the tension. My lady, perhaps if I might observe, your father requires these men not for luxury but for dignity. Strip a man of his retinue, and you strip him of his identity. Make him small enough, and he ceases to exist. But perhaps that is the intention. Cornwall's hand moves to his hip, where his service revolver sits in its holster. The fool should learn when to be silent. Fools speak truth when wise men bite their tongues, Prakash retorts. It is our professional obligation. The room crackles with tension. Outside, thunder rumbles in the distance, the monsoon returning, gathering strength. Sir Lionel looks from Regan to Cornwall, then back to Regan, and his voice drops to something quiet and dangerous. I gave you everything, and you give me this. You reduce me by mathematics 50 to 25, 25 to 10. Soon it will be 5, then 1, then none. You will have me standing naked in the street, a beggar with a bowl. You are being dramatic, Regan says, stubbing out her cigarette. Am I? Tell me, daughter, what does a man need? Food, shelter, clothing, these are basics. But what makes a man more than an animal? Dignity, station, recognition. You would strip these from me and call it reasonable. I call it necessary, Cornwall says. India is changing. Independence comes in months, perhaps weeks. We must consolidate, reduce expenses, prepare for an uncertain future. Your 50 servants are an extravagance we cannot afford. Then I will return to Goneril. She at least allowed me 25. Goneril and I have corresponded, Regan says. She agrees that 10 is sufficient. If you return to her, she will hold to the same number. We are united in this, father. The words hit Sir Lionel like physical blows. He staggers slightly, and Caius moves forward to steady him, but Sir Lionel shakes him off. His breath comes in short gasps. his hands trembling. You have conspired against me, my own daughters. We have been practical, Regan corrects. There is a difference. Sir Lionel backs toward the door, his eyes wild. I will not stay here. I will not be reduced to nothing by children who know nothing of what I have sacrificed, what I have built. I would rather sleep in the jungle than accept your charity. Father, the storm is coming, Regan begins, but he is already moving, stumbling out onto the veranda where rain has begun to fall again, heavy drops that explode against the tiles. Let it come. Let it wash away this corrupt world. I will take my chances with honest rain rather than dishonest daughters. Prakash follows him, then Caius, then a handful of loyal servants who choose their master over comfort. They climb into lorries as the storm intensifies, lightning splitting the darkening sky. Cornwall watches from the veranda, unmoved, but something flickers across Regan's face. Doubt, perhaps, or the ghost of conscience. Should we stop him? She asks. Let him go, Cornwall says. A night in the storm will teach him reason. He'll return by morning, properly humbled. But Sir Lionel does not return by morning. He drives into the storm, into the night, ordering his driver to take them away from estates and houses, away from civilization. They drive until the roads become impassable, until the lorries cannot continue, and then Sir Lionel climbs out into the howling wind and rain and walks. He walks through rubber plantations where trees bend and crack, through villages where families huddle in their huts, through rice paddies transformed to lakes. The rain soaks through his clothes, plasters his white hair to his skull, and he shouts at the sky. Blow winds, crack your cheeks, rage, blow. You cataracts and hurricanos, spout till you have drenched our steeples, drowned the cocks. You sulphurous and thought-executing fires, vaunt couriers to oak-cleaving thunderbolts, singe my white head. And thou, all-shaking thunder, smite flat the thick rotundity of the world. Crack nature's molds, all Germans spill at once that make ingrateful man. Prakash stumbles beside him, soaked to the bone, still trying to make jokes but failing. Majesty, this is madness. We will drown out here. Then let us drown. Better to drown than to live on scraps of mercy from ungrateful children. Caius fights his way forward, grabs Sir Lionel's arm. Sir, there is a shelter ahead, I see lights. A railway station. We must take cover. They stumble toward the lights, and yes, there is a small railway station, abandoned for the night. Its platform covered by a corrugated tin roof that rattles and booms in the wind. They collapse onto the platform, water streaming from their clothes, and Sir Lionel sits with his back against the station wall, laughing and weeping simultaneously. This is what I have come to, he says to no one in particular. Sir Lionel King, Knight Commander of the Indian Empire, builder of roads and railways, advisor to viceroys reduced to a beggar sheltering at a railway platform like a common vagrant. You are not reduced, Caius says firmly, wringing water from his shirt. You are still who you were. The storm does not diminish you. Only your daughter's cruelty does that. Sir Lionel looks at this rough soldier who has served him for barely a week, but who followed him into the storm without question. What is your name again? Caius, sir. You are a good man, Caius. Better than my daughters. Better than I deserve. His voice cracks. I am a foolish, fond old man, more than 80 years old, and I fear I am not in my perfect mind. I gave away everything. I cast out the one daughter who loved me truly. I have made such mistakes. Such terrible mistakes. The storm rages around them, and in the distance, a train whistle sounds mournful, lost, echoing across the flooded landscape. Sir Lionel closes his eyes, and tears mix with rainwater on his weathered cheeks. Somewhere in the darkness, another drama unfolds. Edgar Gloucester, warned by his bastard brother of their father's suspicions, flees into the same storm, running from accusations he does not understand. He strips off his British clothes, covers himself in mud, and transforms himself into a madman, one of the countless shell-shocked veterans who wander India's roads, minds broken by war. If they hunt him, they will hunt Edgar Gloucester, legitimate son and railway manager. They will not look twice at a mad beggar raving about Burma and blood. The storm continues through the night, and the British Empire dies by inches in the rain. Dawn breaks gray and violent over the flooded countryside. The storm has not abated, if anything, it has intensified. As if the monsoon itself has become personal, targeting this particular stretch of Kerala with biblical fury. The railway station where Sir Lionel and his small band have taken shelter is an island in a sea of brown water that stretches in every direction, swallowing roads and fields alike. Sir Lionel has not slept. He sits on the platform's edge, his legs dangling over water that laps at the concrete, staring at nothing. His white hair hangs in matted strings, his linen suit is ruined beyond salvation, and something in his eyes has changed a wildness, an untethering from the moorings of sanity. "The gods are just," he mutters to the rain. "They make instruments of our own sins to plague us. I sinned against Cordelia. I cast her out for speaking truth. And now the heavens punish me with daughters who speak lies." Prakash huddles under a torn awning, shivering despite the humid heat. "The heavens are simply wet, Majesty. They punish everyone equally and without discrimination. Very democratic of them." Caius kneels beside Sir Lionel, offering a tin cup of rainwater. There is nothing else to drink. "Sir, we must find proper shelter. This station will flood completely if the rain continues." "Let it flood," Sir Lionel says distantly. "Let it wash away the whole corrupted world. Let the rivers rise and cover the plantations, the estates, the grand houses where ungrateful daughters count their stolen wealth. Let it all drown." A sound emerges from beneath the platform, a whimpering animal noise that makes them all start. Caius draws a service revolver, moving toward the sound's source. In the crawl space beneath the platform, crouched in filth and darkness, is a man, or what was once a man. He is naked except for a tattered loincloth, his body covered in mud and his own excrement, his eyes rolling white with terror. When he sees them, he screams a raw, primal sound. "Burma! They're coming from Burma! The Japanese! Take cover! Incoming!" He cowers, hands over his head. "The bridge! Blow the bridge! They're crossing the Irrawaddy!" "It's a madman," Prakash says. "Shell-shocked. One of thousands." But Sir Lionel moves toward the crouching figure with sudden intensity. "What art thou? Some poor, bare, forked animal? Is this what man is, stripped of titles and estates and servants? This naked, shivering thing?" The madman Edgar, beneath his disguise, though none recognize him, rocks back and forth, muttering about battles and blood. "Poor Tom's a cold! Poor Tom's a cold!" The foul fiend follows me, through ford and whirlpool, over bog and quagmire. "Poor Tom," Sir Lionel repeats, and suddenly he begins tearing at his own clothes, ripping buttons from his soaked shirt. He's right. These clothes are lies. These badges of rank and station lies. Beneath them, we're all just poor, bare, forked animals. Let me be honest at least. Let me be naked as truth. Caius grabs his hands. "Sir Lionel, stop! You'll catch your death." "I am already dead," Sir Lionel shouts, struggling. "I died when I gave away my kingdom. I died when I cast out Cordelia. This is just a corpse walking, pretending to be alive." He breaks free and stands in the rain, arms spread wide, shirt hanging open. "Look at me, Sir Lionel King, reduced to his essence. What am I without my estates? Without my title? Without my daughter's false love? I am nothing. Nothing. Poor Tom knows more than I do. He knows we're all just animals, howling in the storm." Edgar, maintaining his madness, crawls toward Sir Lionel. "The foul fiend bites my back. 5 fiends have been in poor Tom at once. Hobbididey Prince of Dumbness, Mahu of Stealing, Modo of Murder, Flibbertigibbet of Mopping and Mowing. Poor Tom's a cold." "We are all cold," Sir Lionel says, his voice suddenly soft, gentle. He kneels beside the madman. "Tell me, philosopher, what is the cause of thunder? What makes the gods rage?" "Ingratitude," Edgar whispers, still in character. "The foul fiend ingratitude bites deepest." Sir Lionel nods as if this confirms great wisdom. "Yes, ingratitude. I have a philosopher here. This naked madman sees more clearly than clothed magistrates and uniformed colonels. The world is mad, and only madmen speak sense." A whistle pierces the storm, a train approaching, its headlamp cutting through sheets of rain. It slows at the flooded station, and a door opens. Lord Gloucester stands in the doorway of a first-class compartment, flanked by railway workers. He has been searching the line, checking stations for storm damage. and now he stares in horror at the scene before him. Sir Lionel. My God, what has happened to you? Sir Lionel looks up, and for a moment, clarity returns to his eyes. Gloucester, old friend, join us in our philosophy session. We are discussing the nature of man. This is my new advisor, much wiser than the last. He says we are all fiends in disguise. Gloucester descends carefully onto the platform, water soaking his polished boots. Sir Lionel, you are unwell. Come with me. I have a circuit house nearby, dry clothes, hot food, medical attention. Are you not hunting your son? Sir Lionel asks suddenly. That's what I heard. Your legitimate son plots against you, so you hunt him like an animal. Join the club, Gloucester. We fathers of ungrateful children must stick together. Gloucester's face tightens with pain. Edgar has fled. He proved his guilt by running. My bastard son Edmund revealed his treachery, and now Edgar hides somewhere in this storm. He didn't reveal treachery, Edgar whispers from his madman's crouch. But no one hears him over the rain. He created it. Gloucester persuades Sir Lionel onto the train with gentle insistence, though Sir Lionel insists that poor Tom must come too. My philosopher must accompany us. I have need of his wisdom. So they all climb aboard Caius, Prakash, the shivering Edgar still playing his madman, and Sir Lionel himself, leaving pools of muddy water on the first-class carpet. The circuit house is 10 miles up the line, a squat building of stone and plaster that serves as overnight accommodation for railway officials. Gloucester's servants have stoked a fire despite the humidity, and they bring blankets, dry clothes, brandy, hot tea. Sir Lionel sits before the flames, wrapped in a borrowed dressing gown, while Edgar crouches in a corner, occasionally shouting about demons and dead comrades. You must send word to your daughters, Gloucester says quietly. They should know where you are. My daughters? Sir Lionel laughs bitterly. Which daughters? The ones who professed infinite love while plotting to reduce me to nothing? Or the one I cast out who actually loved me? No, Gloucester. Let them wonder. Let them search. Let them feel one fraction of what I feel. Gloucester exchanges glances with Caius, who nods slightly, a signal that the old man is being watched, protected. I must return to my estate tonight, Gloucester says. Cornwall has requested my presence, some matter of railway schedules and troop movements. But you are safe here. My servants will care for you. Rest, old friend. Recover your strength. After Gloucester departs, the circuit house settles into uneasy quiet. The storm continues its assault, rain drumming on the tin roof like artillery fire. Sir Lionel paces before the fire, conducting conversations with people who are not there. Cordelia, my child, I wronged you, he says to empty air. I see that now. You spoke truth, and I punished you for it. But he gestures wildly. They spoke lies, and I rewarded them. What kind of father cannot tell honesty from flattery? What kind of fool trades gold for dross? Prakash, wrapped in blankets, watches with sad eyes. The kind of fool who wanted to be loved more than he wanted truth, which is to say, every father who ever lived. Arrange a trial, Sir Lionel announces suddenly. We must have justice. Bring the accused before us. Sir? Caius approaches carefully. My daughters, Goneril and Regan. They must stand trial for their crimes against natural law, against filial duty, against their own father. He points at Edgar in his corner. You, philosopher, you shall be judge, and you, Prakash, you shall prosecute, and Caius shall serve as bailiff. Bring forth the accused. He drags chairs into position as if arranging a courtroom, his eyes feverish with madness and purpose. There sits Goneril, see how she smiles, that false smile that masks a heart of stone. And there sits Regan, in her green silk, counting my servants like coins in a purse. The others exchange helpless looks, but Caius signals them to play along. It may help the old man's mind to work through his betrayal, even in fantasy. The charges? Edgar asks in poor Tom's cracked voice, entering into the delusion. Ingratitude, cruelty, conspiracy. They have taken all I gave and repaid me with humiliation. Sir Lionel points at the empty chairs. What say you, Goneril? How do you plead? He pauses as if listening, then explodes. Lies! Still you lie. You said you loved me more than eyesight, more than life itself, but you loved only my estates, my wealth. You are hollow, both of you beautiful outsides with nothing but greed within. Guilty, Edgar intones. Guilty of all charges. Sentence them, Sir Lionel demands. What punishment fits such crimes? But suddenly the energy drains from him. He sags into a chair, his face crumpling. But they are my daughters, my flesh, my blood. How can I sentence my own children? How did it come to this? He weeps then, harsh sobs that shake his frame, and Caius kneels beside him, one hand on the old man's shoulder. Meanwhile, at Regan's estate, a darker scene unfolds. Gloucester has arrived as summoned, entering the modern house with its clean lines and cold beauty. Cornwall and Regan wait in the drawing room, and with them sits Edmund, Gloucester's bastard son, wearing an expression of grave concern. Lord Gloucester, Cornwall says, not inviting him to sit. We have received disturbing intelligence. Your son Edgar has not merely fled, he has been in contact with French agents. The diplomatic attaché who married Cordelia, he coordinates with Edgar. They plan to invade, to seize the estates by force, to install Cordelia as some sort of regent. That's impossible, Gloucester says, but doubt creeps into his voice. Edgar would never, and yet he fled when confronted with evidence of his treachery. Edmund interjects smoothly. Father, I have tried to give him the benefit of doubt, but the facts speak clearly. More disturbing, Regan adds, lighting a cigarette. We have learned that you gave aid to Sir Lionel. You sheltered him after we had reduced his retinue. You helped him defy our authority. He was dying in a storm. Gloucester protests. I could not leave him. You could and should have. Cornwall snaps. He is a mad old man who poses a threat to order and stability. By helping him, you have chosen sides. You have chosen wrongly. Two guards step forward, large men in military uniform. Gloucester's blood turns cold. What is this? This is justice, Cornwall says quietly. You have committed treason against the new order. Bind him. The guards force Gloucester into a chair, binding his wrists to the armrests with leather straps. The drawing room transforms into an interrogation chamber, and Gloucester's breath comes in short gasps as he realizes the full extent of his danger. Where is Sir Lionel King? Cornwall demands, circling him like a predator. I told you at the circuit house on the northern line. He is sick, confused. He needs medical attention, not pursuit. Where is Edgar? I do not know. He fled before I could speak with him. Lies, Edmund says softly from the corner. He protects them both. Regan moves close, her perfume heavy in the air, her beautiful face utterly cold. Lord Gloucester, you have served the Empire for 40 years. You built the railways that connected this country, that moved troops and supplies, that made British rule possible. Why throw that legacy away for a mad old man and a traitor son? Because some things matter more than empires, Gloucester says, and even bound, he maintains his dignity. Loyalty, compassion, common humanity. Cornwall's hand moves to his belt, removing something, a knife used for opening correspondence, small but sharp. You speak of humanity while harboring traitors. You speak of loyalty while betraying your legitimate authority. Perhaps you need a lesson in perspective. What are you doing? Gloucester's voice rises with the first edge of fear. Teaching you to see clearly, Cornwall says. And he moves behind Gloucester's chair. Hold his head. One guard grabs Gloucester's head, forcing it back, while another holds his shoulders. Gloucester struggles, but the bonds hold firm. Regan watches with clinical interest, drawing on her cigarette. No. Gloucester gasps. For God's sake. Cornwall's hand moves with surgical precision, pressing the knife point below Gloucester's left eye. You want to see? Let me help you see. What happens next is brutal, medieval, a violence that has no place in the modern world but erupts nonetheless. Gloucester's screams fill the house, echoing off modernist walls and polished floors. Blood streams down his face as Cornwall works with methodical cruelty, and Regan watches without turning away, without flinching, smoking her cigarette as if observing a mildly interesting laboratory experiment. One eye gone, Cornwall says, breathing hard from exertion. Now you see the world half as well as you saw it before. Perhaps that will teach you... Stop! One of the guards, a young man, barely 20, Punjabi by his features, releases Gloucester's shoulder and steps back. This is wrong. This is murder. It is justice, Cornwall snaps. Return to your post. No, sir. I enlisted to serve the Empire, not to torture old men. His hand moves to the rifle, slung over his shoulder. Cornwall turns toward him, knife still bloody in his hand. You dare refuse a direct order? I dare refuse an unlawful one. The young guard raises his rifle, not quite pointing it at Cornwall but not lowering it either. The room freezes in tableau. Gloucester slumped in his chair, one eye ruined, moaning in agony. Regan standing with cigarette smoke curling around her. Cornwall with his knife. Edmund watching from the shadows. And this young soldier choosing conscience over orders. Cornwall lunges forward with surprising speed, knife leading. The guard tries to bring his rifle around, but he is too slow. The blade finds his stomach, drives deep, and the guard staggers back, blood blooming across his khaki uniform. Fool! Cornwall hisses, twisting the knife before withdrawing it. The guard falls, and as he dies on the expensive carpet, he looks at Gloucester with something like apology. Sorry, sir. I tried. Cornwall turns back to Gloucester, raising the knife again. Now, where were we? Ah, yes. That's enough. Regan interrupts, and there is something in her voice, not mercy but pragmatism. One eye makes your point. Two might make him useless. We may need information from him yet. Cornwall pauses, then nods. Very well. Throw him out. Let him wander blind. Let him find his traitor son in the dark. They cut Gloucester's bonds and drag him to the door. This man who has served the Empire for 4 decades, who built railways that span a subcontinent, who raised 2 sons and tried to do his duty. They throw him into the rain like garbage, and he crawls on hands and knees through the mud, blood mixing with rainwater, half blind and utterly broken. Edmund watches from the window, and for just a moment, something like regret crosses his face. But only a moment. He has chosen his path, has betrayed his father and brother for legitimacy, for acceptance, for a place in the new order that will rise from the Empire's ashes. Inside, servants carry away the dead guard's body, while others scrub blood from the carpet. Cornwall wraps a handkerchief around his hand he cut himself during the struggle, a small wound compared to what he inflicted. You're bleeding, Regan observes. It's nothing. Have it cleaned properly. Even small wounds fester in this climate. They speak of practical matters while outside. Gloucester crawls through the storm, calling weakly for help that does not come. He is found eventually by a beggar, Edgar, his own son, still disguised as poor Tom. Edgar recognizes his father despite the blood and darkness, but maintains his madness, leading Gloucester away from Regan's estate, away from danger, 2 broken men stumbling through a broken world. The monsoon continues its fury, washing blood into the earth, and in New Delhi and Kerala and across the dying empire, the news spreads in whispers. Cornwall has tortured Gloucester, the old order devours itself. Everything is falling apart. Word travels fast in a dying empire. Within 3 days, everyone knows what Cornwall did to Gloucester. The story spreads through railway stations and telegraph offices, through servants' quarters and officers' clubs, whispered in Hindi and Urdu and English, growing darker with each retelling. Some say Cornwall took both eyes. Some say Gloucester died. All agree that something fundamental has broken, that the thin veneer of civilization has cracked to reveal savagery beneath. In Paris, Cordelia receives a telegram from a loyal railway clerk who once served her father. It contains only essential facts. Sir Lionel mad, wandering the countryside. Goneril and Regan have rejected him. Gloucester tortured, blinded, empire collapsing into chaos. She reads it 3 times, her hands trembling, then turns to Francois. I must return to India. It could be dangerous, he cautions, but he already knows her decision is made. Your sisters have power now. They may see you as a threat. Let them. My father needs me. Within 48 hours, they are airborne one of the new international flights that have made the world smaller, racing across the Mediterranean and the Middle East and landing in Calcutta on a humid morning when the city smells of spices and diesel fuel and humanity pressed too close together. They bring with them French military advisors, medical supplies, and diplomatic credentials that provide thin protection against hostile forces. Meanwhile, on a muddy road between Kerala and Karnataka, Edgar leads his blind father south. Gloucester walks with one hand on Edgar's shoulder, his ruined face wrapped in bandages torn from poor Tom's rags. He does not know the madman who guides him is his own son. Edgar maintains his disguise, speaking in poor Tom's fractured voice, though each deception cuts him like glass. "Where are we?" Gloucester asks as they rest beneath a banyan tree, its roots spreading like the fingers of a buried giant. "Nowhere, everywhere," Edgar answers in his madman's voice. All places are the same to poor Tom, just stopping points between one misery and the next. "You are kind to help a blind old fool. Most would leave me to die in a ditch." Poor Tom knows what it is to be abandoned. The fiends abandoned him after they hollowed him out. Now he is just a shell, leading another shell. Gloucester reaches into his pocket, removes a small leather pouch heavy with coins, his emergency funds, carried always, a habit from decades of colonial service. "Take this, payment for your service. I require one more thing of you." "What thing?" "Lead me to the cliffs of Dover." Edgar stiffens. "We are not near Dover, sir. We are in India." "Dover, Darjeeling, what does it matter? I need cliffs. High cliffs. I wish to stand at the edge of the world and step off." Understanding crashes over Edgar like cold water. His father plans suicide. "Sir, you must not." "Must not? I have lost everything. My position, my sight. My son's one a traitor, the other. The other was innocent, I think. I condemned Edmund's brother without evidence, believed lies because I wanted an heir I could be proud of. Now I have nothing and am nothing. Why should I continue?" "Because," Edgar says carefully, dropping poor Tom's voice for just a moment, "because, while there is life, there is hope for redemption." Gloucester laughs bitterly. "You speak uncommonly well for a madman." Edgar catches himself, returns to his disguise. Poor Tom speaks with the devil's voice sometimes. The fiend gives him pretty words to torture the living. But yes, poor Tom will take you to cliffs. High cliffs where a man can fly. They continue their journey, and Edgar's mind races. He must prevent his father's death while maintaining his disguise. An impossible balance, but he will find a way. He must. In the circuit house, Sir Lionel's condition worsens. He speaks to people who are not there, conducts military campaigns against invisible enemies, signs orders for troops that do not exist. Caius watches helplessly as the man he served for 30 years dissolves into fragments of memory and madness. "We should send for medical help," Caius tells Prakash. "A proper doctor. Perhaps even psychiatric treatment." "What doctor can cure a broken heart?" Prakash replies. "His madness is not disease, it is refuge. His mind protects him from unbearable truth by retreating into fantasy. Perhaps it is mercy." But then a telegram arrives, delivered by railway messenger. Caius reads it, and his weathered face breaks into the first genuine smile in weeks. "She's coming. Cordelia is coming. She landed in Calcutta this morning and travels west with French support. She searches for her father." Sir Lionel, hearing Cordelia's name, emerges briefly from his fog. "My daughter? My youngest? But I cast her out. I told her never to return." "She returns anyway," Caius says gently, "because she loves you despite everything." Sir Lionel's eyes fill with tears. "I do not deserve her love. I am a foolish old man who mistook flattery for affection and honesty for impudence. How can she forgive me? Perhaps you should ask her yourself when she arrives." Sir Lionel nods slowly, then his attention drifts again, back to conversations with ghosts. But something has changed, a small light kindled in the darkness, the possibility of redemption in a world gone mad. Cordelia's search takes her through a landscape transformed by monsoon and chaos. Villages report seeing an old British man wandering with a fool and a soldier. Railway workers mention a blind man led by a beggar heading south. The traces are thin, scattered, but she follows them with the determination of someone atoning for an absence. Francois accompanies her in a military jeep, navigating roads that have become rivers, passing checkpoints where nervous British soldiers eye them with suspicion. The independence movement grows bolder each day. Demonstrations in the cities, strikes in the factories, and everywhere, the sense that time is running out for the colonial order. "Your sisters will hear of your return," Francois warns, as they drive through a rubber plantation, the trees standing like silent witnesses. "They will not welcome you." "I did not come for their welcome. I came for my father." At Regan's estate, news of Cordelia's arrival reaches Cornwall as he lies feverish in bed. The small cut on his hand has become infected despite or perhaps because of the tropical heat and humidity. His arm has swollen to twice its normal size, red streaks spreading from the wound toward his heart. The British doctor who attends him speaks in grave tones about blood poisoning, about the need for modern antibiotics available only in Calcutta or Bombay. But Cornwall refuses to leave. "I will not show weakness now," he mutters through chattering teeth. "Not when everything is in flux." Regan sits beside his bed, smoking mechanically, watching her husband deteriorate. "You should go to hospital. And abandon our holdings. Let Cordelia and her French allies seize control?" "No. I stay." Edmund enters, his face carefully arranged in concern. He has become indispensable to Cornwall and Regan, managing their estates, coordinating with military forces loyal to them, consolidating power. Cordelia travels with 20 French soldiers. They claim to be advisors, but they are combat veterans. She searches for Sir Lionel. "Find him first," Regan orders. "Bring him here. And if he resists? Then ensure he cannot resist." She stubs out her cigarette. "My sister cannot be allowed to rescue him. If she unites with him, presents themselves as the legitimate authority, we could face serious opposition. The natives already whisper about Cornwall's actions. They call it barbarism. If Cordelia offers an alternative, they may rally to her." Edmund nods and withdraws. In the hallway, he encounters Goneril, who has traveled from New Delhi upon hearing of Cordelia's return. The eldest sister looks tired, thinner than before, her navy dress hanging loosely on her frame. "Your husband?" Regan asks when Goneril enters the sick room. Albany grows a conscience. He heard what Cornwall did to Gloucester, and suddenly discovers moral qualms. He speaks of returning to England, of washing his hands of the whole affair. Goneril's voice drips with contempt. "He is weak." "Then perhaps you need a stronger man," Cornwall rasps from his bed, and though he is dying, his eyes move to Edmund with unmistakable meaning. Something passes between Goneril and Edmund, a look that carries weight, possibility, the promise of alliance beyond mere employment. Goneril does not look away. "First we deal with Cordelia," Regan says, oblivious or uncaring. "Then we address other matters. Edmund, you will take soldiers and find Sir Lionel. Bring him here before our sister reaches him." Far to the south, Edgar and Gloucester reach what Edgar has decided are the cliffs. In reality, a small hill rising perhaps 30 feet above rice paddies, but in the darkness and rain, it could be anything. Edgar describes it in elaborate detail, painting a picture of Dover's white cliffs transposed to Indian soil. "We are at the very edge," he says in Poor Tom's voice. Poor Tom can hear the sea far below, can see birds flying beneath us like flies. Gloucester stands at what he believes is the precipice, the wind whipping his bandages. "You will not try to stop me?" Who is Poor Tom to stop a man's destiny? If you must fly, then fly. Gloucester reaches out, clasps Edgar's hand. "Thank you, strange friend. You have shown me more kindness than my own blood. Tell anyone who asks that Lord Gloucester died because he could not bear a world where sons betray fathers and fathers betray sons." He releases Edgar's hand and steps forward, falling not hundreds of feet, but a dozen, tumbling down a muddy slope to land hard in a rice paddy. Edgar scrambles down after him, and when he reaches his father's side, he changes his voice again, becoming now a passing farmer. "Sir, are you injured? What happened?" Gloucester lies in the mud, stunned but alive. "I fell. From the cliffs. I should be dead." "What cliffs, sir? This is just a small hill. You fell perhaps 10 feet. "But I heard," the madman told me, described the heights. "There is no one else here, sir. Just you and me. But you are bleeding. Let me help you to shelter." Gloucester begins to laugh and weep simultaneously, understanding slowly dawning. He has been tricked, saved by deception. "The gods will not let me die. They preserve me for further torment." "Or for redemption," Edgar says softly, still in his farmer's voice. "Perhaps your story is not yet finished." Cordelia reaches the circuit house at dawn, when mist rises from the flooded fields like smoke from dying fires. The building stands isolated, surrounded by water that reflects the pale sky. She wades through ankle-deep mud, Francois and 2 French soldiers following, their weapons ready but not raised. Caius meets them at the door, and recognition flashes in his eyes. This is the one daughter worth saving, Lady Cordelia. You should not have come. Where is my father? Inside. But he is not. He is not himself. His mind wanders. He may not know you. She pushes past him into the dim interior, where oil lamps burn against the gray morning. Sir Lionel sits in a corner, wrapped in blankets, his white hair wild around his weathered face. He stares at nothing, occasionally muttering to invisible companions. Prakash sits nearby, having long since abandoned humor, simply keeping watch. Father? Cordelia's voice breaks on the word. Sir Lionel's head turns slowly, his eyes focusing with difficulty. He sees her, and something like fear crosses his face. Are you a spirit? Have you come from the afterlife to haunt me for my sins? I am real, Father. I am Cordelia. I have come from France to find you. Cordelia is dead to me. I killed her with words. I cast her out for speaking truth. You cannot be her. Cordelia kneels before him, taking his hands in hers. They are cold despite the humidity, trembling like captured birds. I am alive. I am here. And I have come to take you somewhere safe. Sir Lionel searches her face, and slowly, recognition dawns. With it comes crushing shame. You should not be here. You should leave me to rot. I do not deserve your kindness. You are my father. Whatever passed between us, that does not change. I gave you nothing. I gave everything to your sisters, who loved me not at all, and cast you out, who loved me truly. I am a foolish, foolish old man. Tears stream down his face. Can you forgive me? Can anyone forgive such blindness? There is nothing to forgive, Cordelia says, though her own tears fall freely now. You were hurt and angry and afraid of losing power. You are human. We all fail. We all make terrible mistakes. But I am here now, and I will not leave you again. She embraces him, and Sir Lionel clings to her like a drowning man to driftwood, sobbing against her shoulder while Caius and Francois and Prakash look away, granting this moment of broken humanity what privacy they can. We must leave immediately, Francois says quietly. If your sisters learn you are here, they already know, Caius interrupts. I saw military trucks heading this way an hour ago. Edmund leads them. Then we move now. Francois signals his soldiers to prepare the jeep. They help Sir Lionel to his feet, wrapping him in dry clothes, supporting him as they move toward the door. But they are too late. The sound of engines grows louder, and through the windows, they see military trucks surrounding the circuit house, soldiers dismounting with rifles ready. Edmund steps from the lead vehicle, impeccable in a new uniform, not British military, but something else, something that suggests the new order he imagines rising from the Empire's ashes. He carries a revolver on his hip, and authority in his bearing. Lady Cordelia, how touching this reunion is. But I am afraid you and Sir Lionel must come with me. Regan and Cornwall request your presence. We go nowhere with you, Francois states, positioning himself between Edmund and Cordelia. We travel under French diplomatic protection. Any interference is an international incident. International law means little here, Edmund says mildly. This is still technically British territory, and you have no jurisdiction. Sir Lionel is a British subject. Lady Cordelia, by marriage to a French citizen, has renounced her protections. You, monsieur, are an armed foreign military officer on British soil. That makes you a hostile combatant. His soldiers raise their rifles. Francois's 2 soldiers do the same. For a moment, the scene freezes a dozen guns aimed in a small space, one wrong move from massacre. Then Cordelia steps forward, placing herself in the line of fire. Lower your weapons, all of you. Edmund, you win. We will come peacefully. But I give you my word, if any harm comes to my father, France will know. The world will know. You may control this district, but you cannot control the consequences of murdering a British knight and his daughter under diplomatic protection. Edmund considers, calculating odds and outcomes. Finally, he nods. No harm will come to anyone who cooperates. You have my word. Load them into the trucks. They are separated, Sir Lionel and Cordelia in one vehicle, Caius and Prakash in another, Francois and his soldiers in a third. As they drive toward Regan's estate through roads that have become rivers, Sir Lionel holds Cordelia's hand. "I found you again only to lose you," he whispers. "You have not lost me," she insists. "Whatever comes, we face it together." But neither believes they will leave Regan's estate alive. The Empire is dying, and dying things are most dangerous in their final moments, thrashing blindly, destroying everything within reach. The convoy moves through the rain-soaked landscape, carrying them toward whatever end awaits. They arrive at Regan's estate as afternoon light filters weakly through monsoon clouds, casting everything in shades of gray and green. The modern house, with its clean lines, now feels like a fortress, ringed by soldiers whose loyalties have shifted from crown to individual ambition. The British Empire has become a corpse, and vultures circle, fighting over the remains. Cornwall still lives, but barely. The infection has spread from his hand up his arm to his chest, and his breathing comes in labored gasps. The doctor, a thin Scotsman who stayed in India too long and drank too much, shakes his head gravely as Regan watches her husband deteriorate. "Septicemia," the doctor pronounces. "Blood poisoning. Without proper hospital treatment, he has perhaps 24 hours. Then get him to hospital." Regan snaps, but without her usual edge. Something has shifted in her face, not grief exactly, but a recalibration of possibilities. "He will not survive the journey. The roads are impassable. Even if we could transport him, I doubt he would reach Cochin alive." Cornwall's eyes open, fever bright and unfocused. "Edmund," he rasps. "Bring Edmund." When Edmund enters, Cornwall grabs his wrist with his good hand, pulling him close. "You have served well. Better than my own blood would have. I name you. Name you acting military commander. Name. Of all southern territories." His breath rattles. "Papers. In my desk. Signed and sealed. You have authority now." "I am honored, sir," Edmund says, and manages to sound sincere. "My wife." Cornwall's eyes find Regan. "You will need. Strong man. Edmund is strong. Not weak like Albany." The implication hangs in the air like smoke. Cornwall dies with his eyes open, staring at nothing, and Regan closes them with steady hands. She stands, smooths her dress, lights a cigarette. "Bury him properly," she tells the servants. "Full military honors. He deserves that much." But her eyes slide to Edmund, and in them burns something that has nothing to do with grief. In the locked room where they have imprisoned Cordelia and Sir Lionel, father and daughter sit on a narrow bed, holding hands in the gathering darkness. Francois and the others are somewhere else in the house, separated, isolated, rendered powerless. "I am sorry," Sir Lionel says for the 100th time. "I brought you back to India only to trap you. You brought me nowhere. I chose to come." Cordelia rests her head on his shoulder. "And I would choose it again. These weeks with you, even in captivity, are worth more than all the estates you gave my sisters. When I divided my kingdom, I thought I was being wise. I thought I was ensuring peace, securing legacy. Instead, I unleashed chaos. Gloucester is blind. Cornwall is dead. Your sisters have become monsters. And you, who deserved everything, have nothing." "I have you," Cordelia says simply. "That is not nothing." Sir Lionel kisses the top of her head, and for a moment, in this locked room in a dying empire, something like peace settles over them. They do not speak of what comes next. They simply exist together, father and daughter, beyond power and property and all the things that tore them apart. Downstairs, Goneril arrives, having driven through the night when she received word of Cornwall's death. She finds Regan on the veranda, watching rain fall on manicured gardens that are slowly reverting to jungle. "He is really dead?" Goneril asks without preamble. "Very dead. The fool let a cut fester. Even empire builders can be killed by carelessness. That makes you a widow. And you, dear sister, have a husband you despise. How convenient for us both." Regan turns, and her smile is sharp. "Edmund has been granted military command. He controls the southern territories now. Real power, not just inherited estates. And you have designs on him. Do not pretend you do not." Regan's eyes glitter. "I saw how you looked at him, how he looked at you. Let us be honest, at least with each other. We both want him. The question is which of us will have him. Perhaps he should decide. Perhaps he already has. I am widowed, available. You are married to weak Albany. Unless circumstances change, I am the more attractive option. Goneril's hand moves to her purse, where a small vial of poison rests purchased from an apothecary in New Delhi who asked no questions. Circumstances can always change. The sisters regard each other across 3 feet of space that might as well be 3 miles. All pretense of familial love has burned away, leaving only rivalry, ambition, and desire for a bastard son who has maneuvered himself into power through betrayal and intelligence. What do we do with Father and Cordelia? Goneril asks, changing the subject. Edmund suggests they are too dangerous to release. Cordelia especially. She has French backing, popular sympathy, legitimate claim. If we let her go, she becomes a rallying point for opposition. You are suggesting we kill them. I am suggesting we protect what we have built. Father is mad, already dead in all ways that matter. And Cordelia. Regan pauses, something like regret flickering across her face. Cordelia should have known better than to return. Albany arrives the following morning, his face haggard from sleepless travel. He finds Goneril in the drawing room where, days earlier, Gloucester was tortured. The blood has been cleaned from the carpet, but Albany knows what happened here. Everyone knows. I came as soon as I heard, he says without greeting. Cordelia and Sir Lionel are prisoners here? They are guests, detained for their own safety. Goneril replies coolly, not looking up from her correspondence. Do not play word games with me. You hold them against their will. And I have heard whispers of worse, that you and Regan plan permanent solutions to what you perceive as threats. Albany's voice rises. I will not be party to murder. Then go home, Albany. No one requires your participation. You have never had the stomach for necessary actions. Necessary? Torturing an old man is necessary? Imprisoning your own father? When did we become the very tyranny we claim to oppose? Goneril finally looks at him, and her eyes are cold as winter seas. We became what we needed to become to survive. The empire is dying. Independence comes within months. When the British withdraw, there will be chaos, partition, violence, a scramble for power. We position ourselves now to weather that storm. Father and Cordelia threaten that position. I want no part of this, Albany says quietly. I am returning to New Delhi. I will report what I have seen to the proper authorities. What authorities? The Viceroy who will be gone by year's end. The military command that fragments into rival factions? You report to ghosts, Albany. The old order is dead. Only the strong will survive what comes next. Then I choose weakness over this. He turns toward the door. If you harm them, I will testify against you. I will make sure the world knows what you have done. He leaves, and Goneril watches him go with something like contempt mixed with relief. She had planned to use the poison on him eventually, better that he remove himself through cowardice than force her hand prematurely. In the servants' quarters, Caius and Prakash are held under guard. Francois and his French soldiers occupy another locked room. They have been disarmed, separated, rendered ineffective. But Caius has not survived 30 years of colonial service without learning resourcefulness. The guard outside our door is young, he whispers to Prakash. Punjabi, perhaps 19. He looks uncertain, uncomfortable. Uncertain men can be persuaded. Prakash agrees. What do you propose? We talk to him. Appeal to his conscience. One good man can change everything. We saw that when the guard tried to stop Cornwall, it cost him his life. But he tried. They call the guard in, pretending Prakash is ill. The young man enters cautiously, rifle ready. His name is Rajinder Singh, and close up, they can see he is indeed barely more than a boy, his uniform too large, his eyes troubled. Please, Caius says. We mean no harm, but innocent people will die here if good men do nothing. An old man who lost his mind, and his daughter who committed no crime but loving him. Can you stand by and let that happen? I follow orders, Rajinder says, but his voice wavers. Whose orders? Cornwall is dead. The British are leaving. Edmund is a bastard son with no legitimate authority. You follow a lie. Prakash's voice is gentle, persuasive. But you can choose truth. You can choose to be the man who stood against injustice when it mattered. Rajinder's hands tremble on his rifle. If I help you, they will kill me. If you do not help us, you will have to live with what you allowed to happen. Which is worse, dying with honor or living with shame? The young soldier stands frozen, torn between self-preservation and conscience. Finally, he makes his choice. Meanwhile, Edgar and Gloucester have reached the outskirts of Regan's estate, drawn by rumors of military activity and imprisoned nobles. Edgar has maintained his disguises sometimes, poor Tom. Sometimes the helpful farmer, but now the time for deception ends. They shelter an abandoned groundskeeper's cottage on the edge of the property, and Edgar finally speaks in his own voice. "Father, I must tell you something. Your voice has changed, farmer. Because I am not a farmer. I am not. Poor Tom. I am Edgar. Your son. Your legitimate son, whom you believed a traitor." Gloucester's good eye widens with shock. "Edgar? But you fled. The evidence was forged by Edmund. He manipulated you, father. He made you believe I plotted against you so he could take my place. I have been with you all along, disguised, protecting you, unable to reveal myself until now." Gloucester reaches out with shaking hands, touching Edgar's face, tracing features he can barely see. "My son, my true son, I condemned you unjustly. I believed lies, because I wanted so desperately to believe in Edmund's loyalty, in his transformation from bastard to heir. Edmund has betrayed us all," Edgar says grimly, "and now he holds innocent people prisoner in that house. We must act, father. Despite your blindness, despite my disgrace, we must try to set things right. What can a blind man and a fugitive do against armed soldiers? We can bear witness. We can fight. We can die trying if we must. But we cannot do nothing." Gloucester nods slowly, and despite his ruined face, despite everything he has lost, he stands straighter. "Then let us go. Let us end this, one way or another." Night falls on Regan's estate, and with it comes a violence that has been building for weeks. Rajinder Singh makes his choice, unlocking doors, distributing weapons he has stolen from the armory. Caius, Prakash, and Francois move through the house like ghosts, freeing Cordelia and Sir Lionel from their locked room. "We must leave immediately," Francois urges. But as they reach the main hall, lights blaze on. Edmund stands at the top of the staircase, flanked by loyal soldiers, his revolver drawn. "Did you think I would not anticipate this?" His voice is calm, almost regretful. "I have men watching every door, every window. You cannot escape." "Then we fight," Edgar says, stepping from the shadows. He has shed his disguises entirely, stands now in borrowed clothes, his face clean, his bearing aristocratic despite weeks of pretending madness. "Hello, brother." Edmund's composure cracks. "Edgar, I heard you were dead." "You wished me dead. There is a difference. Father, show yourself." Gloucester emerges, his bandaged face a testament to Cornwall's cruelty. "Edmund, my son, how could you do this? How could you betray your own blood?" "My own blood?" Edmund's laugh is bitter. "You called me bastard my entire life. You gave Edgar everything, name, position, inheritance, while I lived in shame. I did not betray my blood. My blood betrayed me first. So you destroyed us all for revenge?" Edgar steps forward. "I would have shared everything with you, brother. I loved you despite our different births. But you could not see past your own bitterness. Love is luxury for legitimate sons." Edmund spits. "I had only ambition." From the drawing room, Regan and Goneril emerge. The two sisters move to opposite sides of Edmund, claiming territory, marking possession. The rivalry that has simmered now boils over. "Edmund is mine," Regan says flatly. "I am widowed, available, and carry Cornwall's authority. Edmund chooses whom he wants." Goneril counters. "And I am the elder, the more powerful. Albany is nothing easily disposed of." "Disposed of?" Albany's voice carries from the doorway where he has returned, unable to abandon his conscience entirely. "You would murder me, Goneril?" She does not deny it. Her hand moves to her purse where the poison waits. Edmund watches the sisters circle each other like predators, and something like disgust crosses his face. "You fight over me as your father fought over flattery. I am not a prize to be won. I am a bastard who orchestrated all of this." Caius interrupts, his revolver pointed at Edmund. "Who blinded Gloucester, imprisoned Sir Lionel, manipulated these sisters into becoming monsters? You are the architect of this chaos. I am the product of this chaos, Edmund corrects. Empire created me half British, half Indian, belonging nowhere, legitimate in no world. I simply used the tools Empire taught me. Exploitation, betrayal, violence. I am what you made me. Regan moves toward Edmund, but Goneril intercepts her. The two sisters collide, and suddenly they are fighting not with words, but with hands, with nails, with the violence of repressed rage finally unleashed. Goneril pulls the vial of poison, but Regan knocks it from her hand. It shatters on the marble floor, spreading its contents in a toxic pool. In the chaos, Edmund raises his revolver toward Cordelia. She is the real threat. While she lives, she represents legitimate authority, moral righteousness. She must. Edgar tackles him, and they fall together, struggling for the weapon. It discharges, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Edmund gasps, clutching his stomach where blood spreads across his uniform. "Brother," he whispers as Edgar cradles him. "I am sorry. I wanted only to matter. To be seen." "You mattered to me," Edgar says, tears streaming down his face. "You always did." Edmund's eyes lose focus. "Then I die content. Tell them I tried to countermand the order. The soldiers I sent to kill Sir Lionel and Cordelia. Tell them I tried to recall them." He dies in his brother's arms as Gloucester, blind but hearing everything, weeps for both his sons. One dead, one broken. Across the room, Regan collapses, foam at her lips. She crawled through the spilled poison, and it has entered cuts on her hands. Goneril watches her sister die, then deliberately touches her own lips where she bit them during the fight, where poison now enters her bloodstream. "Better death than life without power," she whispers, and follows Regan into darkness. But Edmund's final words come too late. The soldiers he sent have already reached the room where Sir Lionel and Cordelia were held. In the confusion of escape, they were separated from the others. Now they are found, and the soldiers following earlier orders carry out their grim task.